When we moved to Germany, there were 4 things so wildly popular and things that everybody did or knew about in Germany that we were dumbfounded that we had never even heard about them in the US before. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are 2 Americans currently living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. There are some things that you grew up doing in your culture that are simply so natural to you that you just kind of think that everybody in the world would do the same thing. At least, for example, that's what I thought about standing while peeing, and then I moved to Germany. But there are also some things that one culture thinks is famous in another culture, but that other culture doesn't even know it exists. An example of that would be the story in the US that putting a pickle in a Christmas tree is an ancient German Christmas tradition, when in fact, it's not really a German tradition at all, and most Germans don't even know that this is a tale told about them in America. Well, we experienced all of this with 4 very specific things in Germany that either Germans think are just totally normal and non-interesting things, or they think that everybody knows about that shocked us based on what we were exposed to in the US. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in our video. Hey, Mr. May, that looks like satay. We all know the clash between the most popular sport in Germany, which is football, and the most popular sport in the US, which is also football. But there is one sport in Germany which is wildly popular that Americans have never heard of, and that's handball. According to movingtogermany.com, handball is the 6th most popular sport in Germany, and the German Handball League is considered to be the best worldwide. For comparison, according to playersbio.com, handball isn't even the top 12 most popular sports in the US, whereas badminton is on that list. Let that sink in. Handball is so unknown in the US that badminton is ranked as a more popular sport than it. No offense to all those badminton players out there. Funnily enough, I will admit that even with as unknown as I'm claiming this sport to be in the US, me and my neighborhood friends actually did grow up and play handball as we were growing up from time to time. However, we only did this after seeing handball for the first time ever on TV during the Summer Olympics in 2004 or 2008. We had no idea what the rules were, so we basically just set up a soccer goal and ran around holding a ball and threw it in the net, which honestly, I don't think is far off from the real sport. We just lacked the finer details and rules. But outside of the Olympics, I had never seen a game on television, heard of a game being played where we could go watch it, or generally ever even heard of the game at all before that. To further drive the point home, I had no idea a world championship for handball existed, but I found the US men's national team has only even competed in the world championship 6 times in the 85-year history of the tournament, and has never placed better than 15th, if that's any indicator of the lack of popularity of the sport in the US, because we can't find anybody who seems to know how to play well enough to even compete on the world stage. That's in comparison to Germany, where, as another DW article puts it, first off, handball has a captivating power that has long been underrated. That's especially true in a nation like Germany, where the fast-paced game with the small ball has been a permanent fixture for decades in regions such as Schleswig-Holstein, Ostwestfalen-Lippe, and Württemberg. Few other sports can boast of having an arena full of fans on their feet from the 2nd minute onwards. Now, I will admit that article was written in 2019 during the World Handball Championship, and the author was writing about how the interest in the sport actually was declining, even if 10 million still tuned in to watch the German national team compete. Still, compared to the US, where we don't even know a handball world championship exists, the sport is significantly more popular here. But I'd be interested in knowing from our German viewers, how many of you have played handball or gone to a handball match even? When Germans and Americans think of the best parts of summer, they can often agree on a few things.
Es gibt doch nichts Schöneres, als im Sommer am Feuer zu sitzen und sich ein Stockbrot zu grillen.
Wait, what? She had me and most Americans up until the point where she said grilling stick bread?
Und sich ein Stockbrot zu grillen.
A classic American summer activity would also be sitting around a fire, but with a hot dog on a stick or a marshmallow. But I had never heard of stick stick bread before moving to Germany. Now, to see if I was the only American that somehow missed this culinary memo, I Googled stick bread, and a vast majority of the results were for bread sticks, like you would get at Olive Garden. Don't worry, Germans, if you don't know that restaurant, you're fine. They just have amazing breadsticks. I also searched for classic campfire foods in America, and I didn't find any list that included stick bread. Aubrey's family is also very avid campers, and when I asked her if she had heard of stick bread, she also asked if I meant bread sticks, because stick bread meant nothing to her as well. Now, to be fair, this isn't uniquely German, and I have seen other countries in Europe doing this, but basically you take a bread dough, wrap it around a stick, and then eat the bread after cooking it over a fire. And I have to admit, we have had a fire pit in our backyard, and even though German marshmallows don't quite have the same delicious qualities as in the US, but I will admit that chocolate in Germany is better on a s'more than American Hershey's chocolate. We've made our fair share of s'mores over that fire pit, but I've never made stick bread just because I don't really see the appeal. But if you're German, I'm sure you grew up with it, and to you it tastes like summertime, but to me, bread on a stick sounds a little bland. No, you know what? We're doing it. Let's go eat one right now and let's see how it is. Now here's the thing, I'm using a pretty basic bread recipe that I found on a German website. But if you're in the US and you're searching for a stick bread recipe, you may not be able to really find much considering it's not a thing in the US at all. So what you need to do actually is probably search for a bread stick recipe using the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN, okay? It's on there kind of thick, it might be too thick, but I got my bread on a stick here. So why Surfshark? Well, if you're in the US and you're searching for stick bread recipes, based on your computer's location, you may not get the results for the authentic thing, or you may get exactly what I was talking about, results for breadsticks. But if you connect to a server in a different country, for example, Germany in this case, then you will see Germany's results for searching for stick bread. Yeah, starting to split open pretty bad. Is this supposed to do that? I hope that doesn't fall off. Or, for example, you can use Surfshark to connect to one of over 3,200 of their servers in over 100 countries to watch the Netflix of that country for shows that may not be available in your country. This is way slower than roasting a marshmallow. Turns out making stick bread requires a lot of patience. More importantly than searching bread recipes, Surfshark's VPN helps encrypt your online data to keep you safe online. Kind of like a virtual window screen stopping creepy creeps trying to get into your online data. I feel like there's gotta be some people that are team slowly rotate, and some people that are team cook on one side and then bake on the other and then bake on another. Is that how it is? I'm gonna do slowly rotate. So say you travel a lot like us, so you are often connecting to unsecure Wi-Fi networks. For me, whenever I'm in a hotel traveling somewhere, I always use a VPN so that I can access my bank accounts without worrying about anybody trying to steal my online data. And you can use Surfshark on unlimited devices with just one subscription. I'm actually getting more and more excited about this as I am doing it. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit blackened. I think that we are pretty much there. I think we're gonna call it there. So let's check this out. Oh man. Yeah, that's definitely done. It's kind of like hard on the outside and hollow on the inside. Oh, I'm really excited about this. First ever stick bread. Oh, it's really hot. Pull it off the stick. Oh yeah, let's see. Wow, it's kind of plain bread. That's really good. If you're sitting around with some friends and you have like this fire that's gonna burn for a few hours, I mean, might as well take the time and make some stick bread. It does have a little bit of smokiness. It is kind of like a dense, thick pizza crust that's been cooked in a wood fire oven. I think I changed my mind. Stick bread is definitely worth doing. 9 out of 10. Use the link in our description to check out Surfshark's insane Black Friday deals and use our code PASSPORT2 to get 85% off plus 3 extra months for free. And with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there is no risk in trying it out today. That is so good. Real quick, I want to remind you guys that we now have Passport 2 merch, and I have links in the description of the video where you can go and check it out. If you're a fan of Passport 2 or just a fan of traveling and spreading peace and love like our logo looks like, then we have this stuff for you. I also want to take a moment to thank all of our patrons over on Patreon for their continued support through the years. I truly can never express my gratitude enough. And if any of you are interested in joining our Patreon, I also have links to that in the description. But if the rest of you guys wouldn't mind hitting those like and subscribe buttons and leaving a comment on the video, that also goes an enormous way in supporting our channel, and I would really appreciate it if you did that. Now, let's get back to the video. As many of you know, we come from a southern state in the US called Oklahoma and now live in the southwestern German state of Rhineland-Pfalz. And therefore, many of our experiences are specific to those two places. So maybe you live in a different region of these two countries and have had different experiences. And if that's the case, let us know in the comments below what these things are like where you live. But because we come from Oklahoma, I feel like I have a particularly good perspective on the thing that is super popular in Germany that Americans have never heard of. So the very quick backstory is that in the 1800s, the US forcibly displaced Native Americans from the eastern US to what became known as Indian Territory on the Trail of Tears. Roughly what was Indian Territory later became our home state of Oklahoma, and still to this day, Oklahoma is known for having a very high Native American population, and it is extremely common for many people to have Native American blood where I come from. Because we grew up in this environment surrounded by Native American culture and history, I was shocked to find that I had never heard of the supposedly most famous Apache chief, Winnetou. So I guess I shouldn't be shocked, because for those of you that don't know, speaking to Americans like me, Winnetou is a German-created fictional Apache Indian chief. One of the best-selling German authors of all time, Karl May, wrote multiple novels in which he tells the tales of this Native American, which have then been turned into classic German films, live-action plays, and an animated series. So even with having grown up watching my fair share of Western movies, because these were German books and German films about a character dreamed up by a German, I, like most Americans, never was exposed to Winnetou and therefore had no idea that he existed. Now, Winnetou is actually at the center of a huge social debate in Germany right now, as DW explained in an article. A German publisher announced it was pulling 2 children's books from its lineup amid accusations of racism and cultural appropriation. The books imagine the childhood of May's most famous creation, the fearless Apache brave Winnetou. These books at the center of the controversy is also accompanied by a film imagining Winnetou as a young boy that has also received lots of calls to be canceled and pulled from theaters. But all I want to say in this part of the video is that Winnetou is a famous Native American in Germany that is completely unheard of in the US, even in a heavily proud Native American part of the country like I am from. But for our German viewers, how many of you grew up reading and watching stories about Winnetou? Speaking of childhood favorites, one thing that Germans and Americans both love is a nice glass of apple juice. However, apple juice is usually enjoyed very differently between Germany and the USA, as we have discovered, and as DW explained in an article titled "Unusual Drinks Germans Think Are Absolutely Normal." While the apple variation is the most common, a Schorle, or spritzer if you want an English term, although even translators struggle to agree on an official term in English, can be made by adding sparkling water to any juice. And let me tell you, specifically that portion that says although even translators struggle to agree on an official term in English is so true, because whenever we have American family or friends visiting us and we tell them they need to try a Schorle and then they ask us what it is, even after 3 years, we struggle with what to call it and end up saying something like, it is a blank mixed with carbonated water, because there isn't really a good single word translation in English to call these drinks. Maybe a spritzer like the article suggested, but that primarily refers to wine and soda water. But nonetheless, like we've talked about in other videos, Germans love to drink their water carbonated, and it seems like they love carbonated water so much that even when they want to drink something else, they miss their beloved carbonated water so much they just go ahead and pour some in to get their fix. Therefore, in Germany, you find apple juice mixed with carbonated water, wine mixed with carbonated water, or truly simply any drink you'll probably find a Schorle version of. Now, Aubrey and I haven't gotten on the board with carbonated water yet for one reason or another, but I will admit that we love a good Schorle. Now, a drink that we had never heard existed before moving to Germany, we regularly order at restaurants, as nearly every decent restaurant in Germany will offer at least apple Schorles or apple juice mixed with carbonated water. To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is ice cream or gelato? Which do you prefer? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in our next video. Or they think that everybody knows about that shocked us. Or they think that everybody knows about that shocked us based on what we were expecting. We regularly order at restaurants as nearly